She survived an attack, became the world's youngest Nobel Prize winner, and now she's back not with another speech but with a story. Tonight, Malala Yousafzai sits down with Jimmy Fallon for one of her most inspiring, funny, and honest interviews yet. From pizza hunts in New York to powerful lessons on courage and self-discovery, this conversation will remind you why Malala's voice continues to change the world. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications because we bring you real conversations that move hearts and minds every week. Let's jump into Malala Yousafzai, from activist to author. The stage lights flash, the crowd rises in applause, and the camera pans across a wall of smiling faces. On the big screen behind the stage, images play in sequence. Malala Yousafzai at the United Nations, her hand raised in quiet strength. The Nobel Prize ceremony, her calm expression capturing the weight of global hope. Then a close-up of her today walking toward Jimmy Fallon's desk, her smile bright and unshaken. The voiceover begins softly, warm and steady. She was just 15 when her voice became a global movement. She stood against fear, stood for education, and became a symbol of courage. Today, Malala Yousafzai returns not just as an activist, but as an author sharing a new chapter of her life. The Tonight Show logo spins onto the screen. The band picks up the rhythm and Jimmy Fallon steps forward, his energy filling the room. Please welcome the incredible, the inspiring Malala Yousafzai. The crowd cheers louder as Malala walks in, waving shyly. She takes her seat beside Jimmy, her calm presence balancing his excitement. Jimmy grins. "It is so good to see you again, Malala. Last time we talked about your studies. Now you are back with a new book and I hear some big projects too." The camera zooms in on Malala's smile as the narrator's voice returns. What happens when a global activist opens up about her next chapter? Stay tuned to find out. And yes, there is a surprise waiting at the end. Jimmy leans forward with that familiar smile that puts every guest at ease. "So, Malala, you are back in New York again. You have been here a few times, right? What do you think? Do you love the city?" Malala laughs softly. "I do. It is one of those places that feels alive every minute. The people, the lights, the noise. It is so different from where I grew up, but I love that energy." Jimmy nods. "That is true. I think New York runs on caffeine and chaos." The audience laughs. "Do you have a favorite food here?" She tilts her head, pretending to think. "Yes, Joe's Pizza. I tried it the first time I came for the United Nations Youth Assembly years ago. I had seen it in so many shows and I thought, I need to know what the hype is about. It was raining, I was wearing these shoes that were definitely not made for walking in New York, but it was all worth it for that pizza slice." The audience laughs again. Jimmy grins. "That is the most New York story ever. A Nobel Peace Prize winner braving the rain for pizza." Malala chuckles. "It was very real. I also went to see the Statue of Liberty. I waited in line for hours and thought I could have written a whole essay while standing here. But I liked it. It made me think about freedom and how powerful symbols can be." Jimmy smiles. "That is beautiful. And now you are a New Yorker at heart. Have you done any shopping while you are here?" Malala shakes her head with a grin. "I tried, but every time I go shopping I end up in a bookstore instead." The audience claps softly, charmed by her honesty. Jimmy laughs. "That sounds about right. You are too wholesome for Fifth Avenue." Malala smiles and says, "Maybe next time I will get something more adventurous like a Yankees cap." The crowd cheers. Jimmy turns to the camera. If you are loving this already, hit subscribe. We share more inspiring conversations like this every week. You do not want to miss what comes next. Jimmy leans across his desk with a grin that signals something fun is coming. "Now, Malala, I heard a rumor about you. Apparently, you have a very interesting habit when you travel. Something about collecting pens?" Malala laughs and covers her face for a moment. "Oh no, who told you that?" "Yes, it is true. I have a small collection. Every time I visit a new place, I like to take a pen home. It reminds me of where I have been and what I was doing there." Jimmy raises an eyebrow and plays along. "So you are telling me there is a chance that somewhere out there, a hotel manager is wondering why all their pens are missing?" The audience bursts into laughter. Malala smiles and says, "Not stealing. Borrowing with meaning. I always say I will return them someday." Jimmy pretends to be serious. "Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Nobel Prize winner, activist, and pen thief." The laughter grows louder and Malala shakes her head, laughing too hard to answer. He then reaches under the desk and pulls out a shiny silver pen. "Well, I thought I would make things official. Here is a pen from the Tonight Show. No stealing required." The crowd cheers as Malala accepts it with both hands and smiles. "Thank you, Jimmy. I will treasure it." And I promise not to take your mug. The audience roars with laughter as Jimmy clutches his coffee cup protectively. The warm, playful moment lights up the room, perfectly setting the tone for the deeper stories to come. Jimmy smiles and gestures toward the pen in Malala's hand. You know, you say you collect pens, but I think every pen you pick up is really a story waiting to be told. Speaking of that, you have been doing some incredible work through the Malala Fund, and now you have this new project called Recess. Tell me about that. Malala's expression shifts from playful to thoughtful. Recess is something very close to my heart. It started with a simple idea. In many parts of the world, especially in rural areas, girls are encouraged to study, but when it comes to sports or physical activity, the opportunities disappear. Some schools do not even have proper playgrounds for girls. Many are told that playing outside is not for them. The audience grows quiet as she continues. I saw that growing up. I remember how boys could run and play cricket in the street while girls were expected to stay home. It might seem small, but it teaches a message early on about who is allowed to take space and who is not. Recess is about changing that. It is about giving girls the same chance to play, to compete, to build confidence, and to feel free. Jimmy nods with admiration. That is powerful. I see it with my daughters. They love playing soccer. And I cannot imagine someone telling them they should not. It is not just about sports. It is about learning teamwork and believing in yourself. Malala smiles warmly. Exactly. When girls play, they grow stronger in every way. They learn to lead, to work together, and to trust themselves. Through Recess, we are supporting programs that build safe spaces, train coaches, and provide equipment for girls around the world. It is not charity. It is equality. The audience begins to applaud, moved by her calm conviction. Jimmy claps along. That is amazing. You are not just fighting for education anymore, you are fighting for joy too. That is such an important part of growing up. Malala nods, her eyes bright. Yes. Every girl deserves the right to learn, but she also deserves the right to play. The narrator's voice returns as the camera pulls back. Equal play, equal chance. Malala's Recess project is not just about sports. It is about rewriting what freedom looks like for the next generation. Jimmy leans back in his chair, holding up a colorful book for the camera. Now this is exciting. Your new book, Finding My Way, is officially out. The cover looks beautiful. Tell us about it. Malala smiles, looking proud but humble. Thank you, Jimmy. This book is very personal to me. It is about what came after everything people already know. I wanted to write about my journey of growing up, studying, and figuring out who I am beyond being called an activist. I think many people see me as this serious person all the time, but there is so much more behind that. Jimmy nods. You started university right after years of traveling the world, speaking to leaders, and running a foundation. What was it like to just be a student again? Malala laughs softly. It was a big adjustment. I remember walking into my dorm and realizing that everyone had no idea what my life had been like before. I love that. I could be normal. I could go to class, have late-night study sessions, and complain about exams just like everyone else. The audience chuckles and she continues, I even went to my first costume party. It was an 80s aerobics theme. My friends convinced me to wear this bright pink outfit with leg warmers. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was fun. I looked like I stepped out of a music video. Jimmy bursts out laughing. That is amazing. Somewhere out there, there is a picture of Malala Yousafzai in leg warmers, dancing to 80s music. Malala laughs too. I hope not, but maybe. It was one of those moments where I felt like I was really part of something. I was not just the girl from Pakistan who spoke at the United Nations. I was just Malala, a college student trying to figure life out. The laughter fades into a thoughtful pause. Malala's tone softens. But at the same time, it was not always easy. Being known for something so big so young can be overwhelming. There were days I questioned what I wanted next. When the world already knows your name, it can be hard to find your own direction again. Jimmy listens closely. That makes sense. I think everyone can relate to that in some way. The pressure to know who you are, especially when everyone expects something from you. Malala nods. Exactly. Finding My Way is about that. It is about learning to separate what the world wants you to be from who you really are. I wanted to be honest about the confusion, the growth, the quiet moments of doubt. Because even with all the success, I am still learning, still becoming. The audience sits quietly, moved by her openness. Jimmy gives a small smile. That is why people connect with you. You speak from the heart. Malala smiles back. Thank you. I hope readers see themselves in my story. It is not just about me. It is about finding courage in your own path, no matter where you start. The camera pans to the book cover one more time as the narrator's voice comes in softly. From global stages to quiet dorm rooms, Finding My Way is Malala's story of becoming whole. A story not of fame but of self-discovery. Jimmy grins as he flips through his notes. Now this next part made me laugh. You said you grew up a huge John Cena fan. Is that true? Malala laughs with surprise. Yes, it is true. My brothers and I used to watch WWE all the time. We would sit together and cheer for John Cena like he was our family. We even tried some of the wrestling moves on each other, which was not the best idea. The crowd bursts into laughter as Jimmy leans in, pretending to whisper. So you were a Cena fan? Not The Rock? Not Undertaker? She shakes her head. No, John Cena was the favorite. I remember thinking wrestling was completely real. I used to believe every fall and every punch. When I moved to the UK, I learned it was scripted. I was heartbroken. Jimmy laughs so hard he nearly drops his pen. What? No. It is real. It is absolutely real. Malala plays along, smiling. Are you sure? Because that would make me very happy. The audience claps and cheers as Jimmy points dramatically to the camera. You hear that, everyone? Wrestling is real, and John Cena is watching this right now. Malala laughs again, shaking her head. My brothers would be so jealous if that were true. Jimmy smiles warmly. See, that is what I love about you. You are this incredible Nobel Prize winner, and at the same time, you are just like anyone who grew up watching WWE on a Saturday morning. The audience cheers, the room filled with energy and laughter, blending humor with heart in perfect balance. Jimmy's tone softens as he looks across the stage. You have done so much for girls around the world, but one thing that stands out is what you have done back home. You opened a school for girls in Pakistan. That must have been an incredible moment. Malala takes a slow breath, her expression both proud and reflective. It was very emotional. When I first dreamed of building a school for girls, it felt so far away. Growing up, I saw so many girls who wanted to learn but had no place to go. So when I finally stood inside that school, surrounded by students, it felt like a dream that had come true. The screen behind them shows clips of young girls in uniform, reading, laughing, and walking through the school courtyard. Malala continues, her voice calm but filled with feeling. This school is in a small village where girls' education was not common. For many families, this was the first time their daughters were allowed to study. When I visited earlier this year, I met the very first class who will soon graduate. They told me their dreams of becoming doctors, teachers, engineers. I saw myself in their eyes. Jimmy nods, listening closely. That must have been powerful. It was, she says. I sat with them and told them that it is okay to feel unsure sometimes. It is okay not to have every answer. Life is full of questions, but that is how we grow. I wanted them to know that fear and courage can exist together. You can be scared and still move forward. I told them that every time I doubted myself, I learned something important. The audience grows quiet, taking in every word. Malala smiles softly. When I looked around that classroom, I realized that this is what hope looks like. These girls are not only changing their own lives. They are changing their families, their communities, and one day their country. It reminded me why I started all of this in the first place. Jimmy leans forward, his voice sincere. That might be one of the most beautiful full-circle stories I have ever heard. From being a girl who fought for education, to now giving that chance to hundreds more. That is unbelievable. The crowd begins to applaud, slowly at first, then louder and louder. Malala smiles, touched by the warmth in the room. She nods gently. Education changes everything. It gives a voice to those who were never heard. It opens doors that once seemed locked. I was one of those girls, and now I see many more walking through those doors. That is what gives me hope. The applause swells into a standing ovation as the camera pans over the cheering audience. The scene closes on Malala's calm, grateful smile, a quiet image of strength and purpose. Jimmy smiles as the applause fades. You have done so much at such a young age. People sometimes forget you are still only 28. Malala laughs. Yes, I think some people believe I am from the 18th century. They see the documentaries and the speeches and assume I must be at least 70 by now. When I tell them my real age, they look shocked. The audience laughs with her, and the mood in the room lightens. Jimmy grins. So what does life look like for 28-year-old Malala? What do you do when you are not saving the world? Malala smiles. I am married now, so I spend a lot of time at home with my husband. We cook together, we argue about what movie to watch, and we take turns doing laundry. I also love reading, trying new food, and lately I have been into weightlifting. It makes me feel strong in a different way. Jimmy chuckles. Weightlifting? That is awesome. You are already strong in every sense, but now you are lifting too. She laughs again. Yes, but I am still learning. Sometimes I drop the weights. I am not perfect and I do not want to be. People often see me as someone who always has the answers, but I am still figuring things out. I make mistakes, I learn, and I keep going. The audience nods and smiles, clearly touched by her openness. Jimmy leans forward. That is what makes you so real. You are not trying to be a symbol. You are just living your life and growing like the rest of us. Malala nods softly. Exactly. I'm still a student of life. Every day teaches me something new. The crowd claps warmly, the laughter fading into a quiet admiration that fills the room. Jimmy takes a quiet breath as the audience settles. Malala, before we wrap up, I would love for you to share a part of your new book with everyone here tonight. There is a passage that really stayed with me. Would you mind reading it for us? Malala nods and smiles gently. She opens the book and looks down for a moment, her voice calm and steady as the room grows silent. She begins to read. There was a time when I believed that strength meant always standing tall. That courage was about never falling, never breaking. But as I grew older, I learned that sometimes strength is softer. It is the ability to bend, to float, to let life carry you when the current feels too strong. You do not always have to fight the water. Sometimes you can trust it to hold you. The room is completely still. The sound of her voice carries through the air, calm but full of emotion. She continues. We are all changing even when we do not notice. Every year adds a new layer to who we are. I have learned that identity is not something you protect like a fragile glass. It is something that grows with you, reshapes, and survives through everything you go through. The key is to trust yourself, even when you do not fully understand where the path is leading. She closes the book softly. For a moment, no one speaks. The audience sits in silence, processing every word. Jimmy nods slowly, visibly moved. That was beautiful. I think we all needed to hear that tonight. Thank you for sharing it with us. Malala smiles with quiet grace. Thank you for listening. The audience rises to their feet, clapping and cheering. The camera pans across faces filled with admiration and emotion. Some people have tears in their eyes, others smile softly, holding on to the message she just shared. Jimmy looks around, smiling at the energy in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, Malala Yousafzai. The standing ovation continues, the sound of applause blending with the quiet feeling of hope she leaves behind. Jimmy smiles warmly as the applause begins to settle. Malala, I think I can speak for everyone when I say this has been one of the most inspiring conversations we have ever had on this show. You have shown us courage, but also humor, heart, and hope. Thank you for being here tonight. Malala nods with a grateful smile. Thank you, Jimmy. It means a lot. I always say that we are all still learning. No one has everything figured out, and that is completely fine. What matters is that we keep growing, we keep believing in ourselves, and we stay kind to one another. Because kindness can change everything. The audience applauds again as the screen behind them shows the cover of her new book, Finding My Way, with the release note. Available worldwide wherever books are sold. Jimmy turns back to the camera, his voice warm and sincere. Please, everyone, check out Malala's new book. It is full of stories and lessons that will make you stop and think about what really matters. She continues to lead with love and strength, and I think we can all take a page from that. As the outro music starts to play softly, the narrator's voice comes in. If this conversation inspired you, do not forget to subscribe. Because stories like these remind us all to find our way. Share this video with someone who could use a little hope today. The music swells gently. The screen fades to clips of Malala's school in Pakistan, smiling children, and the applause from the studio audience, a perfect, hopeful ending.